The top 10 Hasbro WWF wrestling figures. While they were not the first WWF action figures, there is no denying that for most people, the line of action figures from Hasbro are the most iconic and nostalgic of all wrestling figures. Hasbro had the line from 1990 until 1994, and over the years it's been revealed that there was another series planned, the famous orange cards that would have featured talents such as Jeff Jarrett and Diesel. Today, we are doing the unthinkable and picking the top 10 WWF Hasbro wrestling figures, as well as sharing a story or two about how we got some of our figures when we were kids. Let us know what your top 10 Hasbro WWF wrestling figures are, and share any fun memories you have playing with them or getting them in the comment section below. As always, thanks for watching, and be sure to use your real wrestling action to nail that like button and subscribe for more fun wrestling content. You never forget your first. We can still vividly remember getting our first WWF Hasbro figures, and that's a story we're sharing right now. It was 1990, and my mother took me on what was going to be a brutal shopping trip. We went into a department store, and there it was, the first WWF Hasbro figure I ever saw, Ravishing Rick Rude. He was not a favourite of mine, but I didn't care. My mum was good enough to get it for me, and we went on our way. Later that day, we came across $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase in another store. So now I had two, and my federation could start. Granted, Ted DiBiase and Rick Rude wouldn't have been the first two I wanted, but it was a start. This day started off not so great and it turned out good, but it was about to get even better. We had to stop back at that first department store where we found Rick Rude, and they had restocked. They had way more figures, and I was allowed to get another 3. So I picked the Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man Randy Savage, and the Big Boss Man. That day in 1990 would start an obsession that is still here to this day. An Intercontinental Classic and a set of braces. One more story we'd like to share is how Mr. Perfect and the Texas Tornado were added to the collection. These two guys were part of Series 3 in 1992, and before them, I had been lucky enough to add many more stars. Actually, I was lucky in that I had the whole collection up to this point. However, the main two that I was really excited to get were Mr. Perfect and Texas Tornado, as I was a huge fan of both guys, and it felt like it took forever for Hasbro to make them. I had to get braces, something many kids have to do, and I was not looking forward to it at all. My parents, God bless them, knew this, tried to soften the blow by promising me we could go to the store to see if they had any new wrestling figures. I knew that Mr. Perfect and Texas Tornado were out, as I already had Sergeant Slaughter, Typhoon and Earthquake, so I had seen them on the back of the box. So I got my braces fitted, and as promised, we stopped at the store on the way home, and they had both Mr. Perfect and Texas Tornado. So I added them to the collection and spent the drive home recreating the classic match they had at SummerSlam 1990.
Perfect opening up a little bit. They were kind of feeling each other out in the beginning. Oh, sleeper!
Please share any fun memories of getting memorable WWF Hasbro wrestling figures in the comment section down below. The top 10 WWF Hasbro wrestling figures list. Okay, here we go. Please remember that any top 10 list is purely subjective and not official in any way. This is our list, and if yours is different, that's great, and we'd love to see it in the comment section down below. Number 10, Series 3 Sergeant Slaughter. While it was released long after his awesome run as WWF champion in 1991, this figure captured Sarge perfectly. He has that big barrel chest, an awesome stance, and he can point his finger at people to let them know what a maggot they really are. This is a very cool figure to have on display, even if the hat and the way he had that big barrel chest made him a tad hard to play with. Number 9, Series 1 Andre the Giant. Series 1 of the WWF Hasbro action figures is just so iconic. and none stood taller than Andre the Giant. This figure captures his 1990 to 1991 look perfectly. He towers over the rest of the roster, and he has these big hands that are great for chops. Interestingly, the commercial showed that the plan was for Andre to be able to twist as well as do that weird headbutt. Number 8, Series 10, Razor Ramon, purple. Razor Ramon would actually get 3 Hasbro figures, and they are all great. Well, 2 of them are exactly the same, but the one we are talking about here is the purple release that was part of Series 10. Granted, this is just a repaint of his earlier yellow card figure, but the purple attire really does make the figure pop, and the clothesline action was always easy to play with. This was said to be made as a giveaway, but that never came to be, and it ended up in the regular line. Number 7, Series 7, Shawn Michaels. For years, we had to make do with the Shawn Michaels that came as part of the Rockers 2-pack, but in 1993, we finally got HBK. This is an awesome figure and captures his cocky personality just perfectly. Sure, the big black gloves are not great, but the rest of the figure is perfect. The shades, the cocky look on his face, and he has a very detailed tattoo as well. It was great to play with, and it ended up looking different from the prototype, which used a different body mold. Number 6, Series 1, Jake the Snake Roberts. One of the things that often gets overlooked about the first series of WWF Hasbro figures is that every figure was unique. Hasbro would reuse parts like crazy as the line progressed, but for those original 12, each figure was designed with that character in mind. Jake is a perfect example of this. He's far less jacked, and he has a bit of a belly on him as well. He even came with an awesome accessory in Damien, which to this day is the best snake to be included with a Jake Roberts figure. Number 5, Series 8, Yokozuna. Many people, the first time they held the Hasbro Yokozuna figure, were blown away. This thing is massive. It's truly epic in its scale and weight, and while the colours of his attire may be the wrong way around, you didn't care when you were a kid. Yokozuna was a monster, and any kid that was lucky enough to have him in their collection had to make him one of their top guys on the roster. He was fun to play with, and he's very eye-catching when on display. Number 4, Series 8, Bret Hart. We went for the second release of Bret Hart. His Series 4 release is great, but it looks far more like a Hart Foundation Bret Hart. This one has the same body and that same awesome head sculpt, but it's the attire that really makes this one pop. It's much brighter, more detailed, and there's no doubt that this figure is based on WWF champion Bret Hart. It would have been awesome if they gave him pink shades instead of the silver, but without a doubt, this is a figure Hasbro nailed. Number 3, Series 3, Hulk Hogan. Including the mail-away, Hulk Hogan got 5 Hasbros. They all look great, although Series 2 is hard to play with. However, for us, Series 3 is the best of the bunch. This figure was large, he had super jacked arms, and the detailing on his shirt and bandana was great. While Hogan was never known for his suplexes, the design of the figure made it the easiest Hulk Hogan to play with at that point.
Are you ready for Hulkamania?
Number 2, Series 2 Ultimate Warrior. Kids loved their Series 1 Warrior, even with his weight belt, which was later revealed to supposed to be the Intercontinental title. However, Series 2 is just such an incredible and iconic figure from Hasbro. This is one of the most jacked figures in the entire Hasbro line. The white attire looks great with all of the Warrior logos on it, and while the paint can easily rub off his nose, this is one figure that was probably champion at least once in every kid's figure federation. Number 1, Series 1 Macho Man Randy Savage. The biggest miss in the Hasbro line is that we never got a long tights Macho King figure. Still, Randy Savage was a character that Hasbro did a great job in. While this figure from Series 1 is modelled after his 1989 look, it's just such a fantastic figure. It looks just like him, and apart from the unpainted tape on his fingers, it's perfect. He can unleash a devastating elbow drop, and the mold for this figure was reused so often because it was so great to play with. That is our WWF Hasbro figure top 10 list. We would love to hear what yours is in the comment section down below. And please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.